Lions charge, ready for the fight. No more hearts and steadfast pride. Detroit spirit, we wear it white. Feel the drive, hear the crowds embrace. Locked on Detroit Lions will rise. With our hearts full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. In the city, where the roar meets the night, the Lions charge, ready for the fight. Noble hearts and steadfast pride. Detroit spirit, we wear it white. Feel the drive, hear the crowds embrace. Rocked on, Detroit Lions will rise. Rocked on.
Game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Apologize about the little delay there. It's Thursday, man, which means we have flipped the page to the Cincinnati Bengals, and we've got a loaded show. A lot of topics. We'll bounce around a little bit today, but we have a lot of things to get through this morning. Hope you guys are all doing well today. Here's our playbook of the day, man. We're going to recap yesterday's injury report. Obviously, Alim McNeill is the big storyline right now headed into week 5. When will he get back onto the field is the biggest question. The roster moves that the Lions put to good use yesterday. We will bring in Alim McNeill's video. He spoke with reporters after practice yesterday. He said it went really well, but we'll get his take. Quarterback rankings ahead of week 5. Pass rusher rankings ahead of week 5. And I'm just going to ask you the question right now because I know that Eric has a segment coming up for us. Do we need edge? Do we need corner? What do the Lions need? Eric's going to tell us all about it here in just a few moments. And then Bears go to jail and apparently using some sort of a witch for wins. We're going to talk about this, the NFC North report, and a lot more. We'll be right back.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
All right. Good morning, Eric. How are you, buddy?
I am fantastic today. The Northern Lights were out the last couple of nights, and I actually got to see some.
I have yet to see the Northern Lights from Michigan.
Yep.
I've seen them in other places. I just have not, like way up north, Saskatchewan, but I've never seen them from Michigan.
Oh, man. We got a big super chat here from David Lyons. He says, shout out to my mom. She's prepping for breast cancer surgery. So prayers up for David Lyons' mom, man.
Man,
we're thinking of you.
David, what's going on here? Man, my thoughts and prayers are with you, buddy, and your mom, of course. I have the unfortunate experience of having to go through that with a couple of people that I love, and it's not easy. So wishing her well, man. Just let her know that there's better days ahead. And quite honestly, Megan learned so many things on her own of how to take care of herself afterward. I'll send you an email or something. I want to share some of the things that maybe you could pick up for your mom that will make this a lot easier for her. It's something that, again, that I have wished that I would have shared a long time ago. But we'll put together the package and I'll let you know. So wishing her well, man. Obviously, everybody through October, we've got all of them on our mind, man. This is it's a huge month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and our Lions are doing well. So we've got a lot to talk about. So good luck, best wishes to your mom, man. Still waiting for this audio to clear on the other side. I don't know why it's not clearing. Oh, maybe it did. Yeah, like my pads are stuck.
Oh, that's no good.
All right, no, I think I'm good now. Okay. Yeah, I was trying to get the sensor button loaded up. Could be one of those days. Anyway, so right off the get, man, let's recap the injury report from last night. Let's just get that out of the way. I apologize. I don't have it up. So let me get it up.
The one that I saw that I did not care for was Kirby Joseph not practicing yesterday. That was the only scary one for me.
Yeah, I think all the other ones are kind of known, right? I think that we understand, a lot of what's going on with this report. Yesterday, I did a couple of videos talking about, well, we had spoke about this, I guess, the other day. I think someone asked me in the chat, I think it might have been Trace, who did I think was going to get elevated for the week? And I figured that it would be Lauren Strickland and possibly Eric Hallett. But given the fact that we've got injuries to Cunningham and Vaki, that Ty Summers made perfect sense as a pickup, right? And now it's even making better sense. I think that they even activated him. So we'll get into that too here in just a moment. Let me switch screens here for just a moment. Let's take a look at the screen and the injury report. Injury report today is brought to you by YOOPERLITES.com. Please check out YOOPERLITES.com for all of your rock hounding needs. YOOPERLITES, man, get on the beach and find you some stones today with your YOOPERLITES. Zach Cunningham, hamstring. This was a big one. A couple weeks ago, he was prepping for the week, ended up getting injured in practice, and I think that was right before the Cleveland game. And so he's been down, and then I think this is exactly why we brought in Ty Summers, not just because of Zach, but when you look at the injury to Sione Vaki in the groin, those two guys are playing significant amount of snaps, or would be playing a significant amount of snaps had Sione Vaki been healthy on special teams. Zach Cunningham contributes to all four levels or all four phases of special teams, and he's played, roughly 51 out of the 60 snaps on special teams. So with him down, the Lions need another headhunter, and Ty Summers is that. So the Lions signed Ty Summers, I believe it was yesterday, to the practice squad, and then I'm pretty positive they already elevated him to the roster for the week or activated him, and it's a big move to bring him in. I'm high on Ty Summers from a practice or from a special teams perspective, not so much his linebacking skills, but I do think that he has, obviously the skills, when needed, if needed, as that sixth linebacker spot sometimes is needed, but he'll be used quite a bit in special teams. So those two, obviously we know what's going on there, Eric. Was there any big concerns from you with those two guys?
No, not really. And, with these two or three signings we had yesterday, it's going to make some of our fans feel a little more at ease, because I know a lot of the people in the chat were wondering why we didn't bring Whitehead back because he was available. Well, they did just that.
Whiteside?
Whiteside.
Yeah, he's back too. I just haven't. Yeah. I didn't see him I saw it announced, but I didn't see the actual transaction on the backside, and I didn't see him added to the practice squad. Now that could have changed since yesterday. Yeah, Taylor Decker.
Flowers.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it was. I believe it was him and both Whiteside and Flowers.
Yeah, we'll talk about those in the roster moves. We'll get both of those sheets up and see what it says now today. Taylor Decker, the shoulder, this is going to be a consistent. According to Dan Campbell, they're not, happy about the fact that he has to go through this, but it is what it is. Taylor Decker has played great, so maybe you stick with it. Maybe he doesn't practice every week because he's been playing wonderful so far through this season, which I don't know about you, Eric, but that's been like a blessing in disguise to see Taylor Decker playing as well as he has. Tough assignment against the Cleveland Browns, and he looks the best he has looked in a long time. Any thoughts on Taylor?
Taylor Decker is playing out of his mind. He's not practicing all week. He gets in for the walkthrough at the end of the week, and man, that guy is playing out of his mind. I thought that this was going to be kind of like last season for Taylor Decker, but he is playing at a much, much better level that I can see. Is he giving up all sorts of sacks and all sorts of pressures? Is he leaky like he was last year? No, He has been solid, even against Myles Garrett, even against
Rashawn Gary.
Parsons and
yeah.
Gary. You know, he has been solid this year. So Taylor Decker, you can take all the days of practice off if you play like that in every game.
Right.
I'm fine with that.
Khalil Dorsey, this one must have popped up during the game. So not only did the Lions lose a couple of corners, but apparently we've now lost another one to a concussion. This is obviously a problem. You can't lose 3 corners in 1 week. Now, Khalil Dorsey obviously plays more on special teams, but he was going to be needed big time this week. Obviously, going into the Bengals game where we're already light, we're light in the pants in the cornerback room. Khalil Dorsey is a problem. Hopefully, he'll be back next week. I don't see this changing this week. Kirby Joseph, the knee, I think he's, if memory serves me, let me just go back to week 4. He's kind of been doing this every week, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, wasn't on the list last week. Let's go to week 3. Week 3, he was on the report with his knee. Right there. Week 2, he was on with a knee. And week 1, he was off. So week 1 and week 4, he was not on the list. So that is concerning, right? As you say, it is concerning for a couple of different reasons, but the knee soreness that he was designated with during training camp held him out of pretty much the entire training camp. So how significant is it? It can't just be soreness. There has to be something physical going on. And when I say physical, I'm talking ligament, muscular, cartilage. What's going on there? Like, is the knee wasted? That's my big concern. You just signed this dude to a big contract, and he's got a major knee problem that could keep him out of games from time to time, definitely keep him out of practices. I mean, is this what his career is going to be now for the next 4 years in Detroit? Consistently missing practices as one of the highest paid safeties in the league? I don't know that I could agree with that. I love Kirby. I love what he does for this team. But my concern is the long-term health of Kirby in that knee. Like, what is going on? Is this going to require surgery in the offseason? Or is it going to get to the point in season where the pain is just so bad that he can't go? And, how much, cortisone or Toradol is he getting in that knee? Because that's going to make it even worse. When he retires, that knee will be shot. I get cortisone shots all the time, and they're not good, man. They're not good on your body. You feel great in the moment. You might feel like Superman for a couple of weeks, and then a couple of years later, you're like, ugh, I feel like crap. Because you just made yourself feel great, for the moment, but down the line, you'll pay the price. How concerned are you about Kirby?
I'm quite a bit concerned about Kirby. So my buddy Bob that I talk about every once in a while, he was up on a ladder a couple of weeks ago, and the ladder kind of got loose underneath of him, and he had to catch himself, right? Well, when he did, he didn't think anything about it. He got down off the ladder, and his knee hurt. Well, he burst his bursa sac in his knee, and his knee puffed out and got a big ball on it, and he couldn't get into the doctor for a couple of days, and he got it popped, right? And now he's got to have surgery to fix his knee because his bursa sac burst. So I wonder if it's something like that it's something that's just going to give him a bunch of pain, but it has nothing to do with the ligaments themselves. I'm no doctor. I don't know, but that's kind of the way it seems. If he can play and he's just playing through pain, because every time a player got hurt or there was a timeout or something, Kirby was sitting on the field during the game. He'd go over by the hurt player and sit down. And he was not wanting to stand if he didn't have to during that game the other day against the Browns. That's just my 2 cents, what I kind of saw. And it kind of worries me that, Kirby doesn't want to be up on that knee all the time.
It's really concerning for the long term of not only this season, but the future. I mean, anytime you have significant knee injuries or anything that involves a joint, like that stuff just doesn't go away. All right, DJ Reed, we know about obviously the hamstring. Now, DJ Reed said yesterday in a quote that I need to find because I forgot to load that up. I'm on the struggle bus today.
Yeah.
But what he had said was he thought that he tore it off the bone. Here's his quote. He says, "I thought I tore it off the bone. I thought it was a wrap, but that's not the case. Thank God." And that's what we thought too. Obviously, when you bring out the cart, that's what the Lions thought immediately, was that this was more severe, as reported the night that it happened, right after the game. I can't imagine, and I still don't understand, who made the mistake of saying that he was questionable to return after being carted off the field. I can't remember too many players that have been carted off that have come back in a game. So I think that designation that was given to him immediately, after the moment happened, it had fans thinking that he was fine, right? It started a lot of Twitter arguments, honestly, that everyone thought that he was going to be okay. Well, he's not. He's going to be down 4 to 6 is what it sounds like, at least 4. We know that. So he's going to be back potentially. His first week would be after the bye week, which would be, what's week 9? Who do we have week 9? Is that Minnesota?
Yeah, Minnesota.
So that could potentially be his first week back. Potentially. There's no guarantees, obviously. Terry Arnold with a shoulder injury. As Dan Campbell mentioned, this was not as bad as what they thought. He's practicing in a limited capacity. He may play this weekend. No guarantees yet. Nothing definitive by Dan Campbell. And then Alim McNeill. He's just back to practice. So we'll move into Alim next. The Bengals looking fairly healthy so far. Obviously, Samar Stewart and Charlie Jones are the only two with DNPs. All right, injury report's done. Roster moves. Lions made some roster moves yesterday, which I'm sure everyone has already gone through these. We try to recap them every morning. All right, let's get this thrown up on the screen. All right, your transaction wire for the Detroit Lions on October 1st. They placed cornerback DJ Reed on reserved injured. They also signed Lauren Strickland and Ty Summers to the active roster from the practice squad. And then they signed cornerback Trey Flowers and cornerback Nick Whiteside to the practice squad. I'm not surprised by the moves. I figured that Lauren Strickland would be brought up. I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't bring up Eric Hallett, but they have a lot more faith in Strickland. They've really liked Strickland since he's been around Detroit. Ty Summers, I thought I did a pretty solid video, going through his history and his experience. So if you haven't watched it, check it out. It kind of gives you a lot of information about who he is. But man, does he play a ton of special teams, and he is a special teams ace. And the Lions continue to find these guys every single season. They find some new special teams ace that they can bring in. We have a lot. We have a lot of guys on special teams. That's why our special teams unit is so good. Ty Summers is going to give us a boost. They also released wide receiver Ronnie Bell. Can't say I'm surprised. It's pretty hard to crack a roster when you have a wide receiver room that's this loaded. On the 27th of September, so before the game, or right around the game, it was after the game. Daniel Thomas finally moved to reserved injured. So his season, I don't think it's quite over. It could be 6 weeks before he gets back. We'll obviously see where it goes from there. Comments, questions, concerns on the transaction wire?
I think we're doing pretty good with that. It was nice to see Whiteside come back. That's who everybody in the chat day before yesterday was clamoring for. How come we didn't bring him back? Because he had a pretty good training camp. And then to bring Trey Flowers in, what is he, a 9-year veteran, played with the Seahawks. And I think that's a guy that's going to be able to come in and play some spot duty. So you bring those two in, you bring them up for the week. I think we'll be just fine at corner. We just need some placeholders for a week or two. Now, it's going to be a little more interesting next week when we get into playing the Chiefs versus playing the Bengals. And some people might say, like David Lyons was saying earlier in the chat, that, we got Chase and Higgins this week. This is going to be impossible to try to cover with a couple of safeties off the street, or a couple of corners off the street. I get that too, but I think that our defensive line rushing 4 is going to get home a lot faster and a lot more versus the Bengals than they are versus the Chiefs. So the Chiefs worry me a little bit more than the Bengals do.
Struggling to be able to look. There it goes. Yeah, so with that, two schools of thought, right? The cornerback room, your secondary, and your edge or your front 4, they work in tandem, right? They work together. When you have 3 seconds of coverage, your edge, your interior is able to get home at some point, right? The Lions don't have a ton of quick pressure. They've had a couple this year, but they don't have a ton. It could be scheme. It could be the way that Calvin's calling the game. It could just be simply because, against the Ravens, we did a lot of contain. When the Lions have actually pinned their ears back and they try to get after the quarterback, I'd say that we're 50-50 right now. It really depends on who Aiden's going up against. If he's going up against a tackle that has longer arms, and when I mean by longer, like 34 inches or better, he's going to struggle. I could prove it to you every single day of the week, looking at the assignments that he's gone up against. Whenever you have a longer, taller tackle, he struggles with it. And that's where I would expect that Calvin Shepard's going to get him in the right position. Maybe you put him on the inside against a weaker guard. Whatever you have to do to give Aiden an opportunity to get after the quarterback. What I'm not as concerned about is getting Alim McNeill in at some point is going to give this Detroit Lions interior a major boost. I said it yesterday. Just imagine for a moment when the Lions actually do go to a 5-2 that we used to use quite a bit. When I say quite a bit, I would say more than expected. If you have from left to right, Aiden, Alim, Tyleek, DJ, or Aiden, Alim, DJ, Tyleek is probably what it would be. And then, Davenport or AQM. That's like an amazing front 5. You got guys that can penetrate from the interior. DJ is going to pick up a couple of blocks in the interior. And then you got the guys on the outside that can get home. We're benefiting right now with having a couple of guys that are playing at a pretty high level. One being Aiden, the other being Al-Qadi Muhammad. When we get into that segment, we'll go a little bit deeper on that. But just having Alim back in the fold here, and it probably won't be for another 3 games, right? The Tampa Bay game. You're going to see an immediate boost. Now, does it take 1 game or 2 games for Alim to feel great? Well, we'll find out. Yesterday, he said everything went well. He didn't get a ton of snaps, but things went well. So I'm excited for the future and how this relates to the Bengals. We'll see. We'll see what Calvin Shepard does. If we get after the quarterback, I'm worried about this. If we get after Browning and we don't have the coverage, and he's able to get that ball out in 2.5 seconds or less, and he does get it to Chase or Higgins, that's going to be a problem. So we're up against, what do you do? Do you go to a zone look? Do you try to fill the center of the field a little bit more? Or do you put yourself in that single high safety, which I don't think we have the man resources right now to do it. We have Amik. I think Amik can do it. But the other side of the field is going to be in trouble. And it's not like you can put Brian Branch on the outside. As much as I love Brian Branch, and as good as he is, he's not an outside corner. He's not fast enough. I don't think he has the hips for it. So that's not an answer, right? And neither is Flowers or Whiteside or anybody else that we're going to have on that outside. Rock Yassin, Vontae Maddox, they're not the answer. Even Terry and Arnold, like having Terry and Arnold on the other side against Higgins, and if you put a Meek on Jamar Chase, that just sounds scary to me. I think Amik is a much better corner right now than what Terry and Arnold is. And I would like that option on Chase. But if we don't have the edge, pressure, if we don't have the interior pressure quickly, those guys are going to get picked apart. So I think you have to go to zone. And I think you have to bracket Chase. I would even sell out and bracket Higgins. You know, do the same thing I said against the Ravens. Let them beat us with the tight ends. Let them beat us there. Let them beat us with the running backs over the middle. I would rather give up plays to them and give up, 8, 9, 10, 12-yard plays than 20, 30, 40-yard plays to Higgins and Chase. That's just me. We'll see what Kelvin Shepherd does. What are your thoughts on that?
I would do whatever the Denver Broncos did. I watched that game, the Broncos versus the Bengals, and I watched a play. Now, I can't remember when it was in the game or what the situation was, but the Denver Broncos lined up 3 defensive line players, 2 edges and a defensive nose tackle. They rushed 3. They dropped everyone else, linebackers, DBs, safeties, into coverage to cover Higgins and Chase and their tight ends. That one player up the middle was supposed to be triple teamed. No one blocked him, and he went, number 95, went right up the middle and sacked the quarterback.
This is the Broncos-Bengals game from this year?
Yeah, from Monday night. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, so this is my opinion. I think that this is what maybe we're missing here.
Yeah.
Who do they have for a corner?
Well, they have Asante Samuel, don't they?
No. They have Pat Surtain.
Or Patrick Surtain. That's who it is. The guy that does the podcast with Terry and Arnold.
Yeah, so it's totally different situation here, I think. Their corners are in a much better situation for the Broncos than what we are in right now. So it'd be really difficult for us to mirror what they did when we just don't have the ponies in the race right now. We don't have DJ Reed, and Terry and Arnold's banged up. So I think it's going to be tough to try to mirror what anyone else has done. I think that this is a game that we are expected to blow these guys out. And as much as I feel like offensively we're going to be able to do that, defensively, I think the Bengals could potentially hang in this game a little bit, far much longer than what I think anyone is expecting, simply because our corners are beat up. It could be too much. Again, it depends on what Kelvin does. It depends on how he handles this. If he continues to stay aggressive in a single high, man look, I'm sorry, we're gonna get torched at times for this game. It just depends on if Browning actually shows up in this game or not. We'll see. I think that Browning's a fairly decent quarterback. He's not Joe Burrow by any means, but you give him a little bit of time with those 2 receivers, and I think that he can penalize you, quite a bit. So we'll see what happens. I haven't watched that Broncos-Bengals game, so I'll dip into that this afternoon as I'm out and about and see what I can't find. Alim McNeill, go ahead.
When you come across that play I'm talking about where they only rush 3, you're going to be amazed because the center goes to the right, the left guard and the tackle both go to the left, and they block no one, and the guy runs right up the middle, number 95, and gets a sack.
The Bengals blocked nobody?
Yep, the Bengals blocked no one. They blocked air. And they only had 3 guys to block.
Did the Bengals run a screen?
No, their offensive line is horrendous.
Oh yeah, we'll go through the slides here in a little bit. Yeah, when you look at the numbers on paper, we're going to talk about the big paper tiger today. This should be a slaughtering, absolute slobberknocker or slobberknocker, whatever that word is that they like to use. That's what it should be. I don't know, man. Offensively, again, I think we're okay. Defensively, anytime you're missing that set, we're gonna see real quick how important this secondary is. I think through the first 4 games, the secondary got better and better and better, and now we just lost at least 1 guy, right, and possibly 2, and then Khalil Dorsey. I don't know. I don't think TA plays this week, but we'll see.
I think it would be smart of them not to play TA this week. Let him heal up, and let's put him in next week. use whoever we have to. We will get by. Even if that means instead of scoring 3 points, the Bengals are going to score 27 points. I don't care. The Lions are going to put up 71, so it's fine. The Bengals defense is a nothing burger. Trey Hendrickson is a nothing burger this year. They spent all that money on the quarterback and those 2 wide receivers. They had no money for anything else. And then the money they did have left, they gave to Trey Hendrickson, and they didn't do anything with anything else. They have the worst. We talk about the Bears having the worst ownership. I think the Bengals might have the worst ownership in the entire NFL.
Man, they're a bunch of clowns over there. They really are. Like you know how big of clowns they really are here. Let's dip into this real quick. Let me move this up so I can get the chat out of the way for a moment. Just got it open. Let's talk about who they passed on. This is how big of clowns they are. It's okay. Hindsight's 2020, right? We know that. On the show. Oh, whoops, that's accidentally. It's playing on its own. We know that hindsight's 2020, right? And when you go back and look at every draft year over year, it changes. Who would you have taken where? There's one name that from the 2021 NFL draft has always remained the same. The Lions would have never made a different pick, in my opinion. I think some people would have said, yeah, well, if we could have taken Jamar Chase, then we would have. I don't think the Lions would have made a different choice here. I think that they would have taken Penei Sewell 100 out of 100 times. But what about the Bengals? They had an opportunity to take Penei Sewell, and they passed. And they passed on Jamar Chase. Or they passed to take Jamar Chase. Yeah, Jamar Chase has been a hell of a football player. But you're not going to win with just one extremely good offensive player. You need the offensive line to be able to keep Joe Burrow, healthy and upright. And so far throughout his career, that hasn't happened. And he has taken a punishment and maybe too much to where it's caused the Bengals to lose some games that they shouldn't have lost. I'm going to go into this video here from the Rich Eisen show, which I'm probably going to have to clip out later. But this was from 4 years ago. This video, 4 years ago, about Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase. So let's see what these guys had to say 4 years ago. I think it gives you a good frame of reference, right? Whenever you go back that far to see what they said. They recognized game back then. You know what? This is way messed up. Hold on.
Before the show started today, Will and I were talking, and I had watched a Bengals podcast, and this is one of the topics that they talked about on that podcast, Will. How they wish they would have taken Penei Sewell.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yep.
I mean, you have a generational talent and I hate to use the G word, but you have a generational talent in Penei Sewell. You knew what he could be. You knew what he was doing in college. It was just getting him into the right situation, and he was going to continue to thrive, and he's done that, even with a team that was, trying to figure its way out. Here we go. 4 years ago on the Rich Eisen show. Like I said, I'm probably going to have to clip this out later, but at least we'll play it right now. Here we go.
I love that we have you on the show today because I've really gotten involved this year on NFL radio and doing this show, talking about the NFL draft and what goes through the mind of a general manager, because I've developed this philosophy around what the NFL has become. And I just really think that in free agency, we saw a little bit more of it this year. And in the draft, I'd like to see more of it. You really go up and draft guys high that are passers, pass protectors, and pass rushers. And so when I see an opportunity in Cincinnati where the Bengals have a franchise quarterback who was almost wrecked, torn apart a year ago because of the liability in the offensive line, and you have a chance to get maybe a once-in-a-decade offensive lineman in Penei Sewell, you still go and get the Ferrari of Jamar Chase, where I really think wide receivers, there are some that change the game, yours in particular, Julio Jones, but right now they are more of a dime a dozen. And what did you think about that pick for the Bengals to decide to go with the flashy wide receiver and not the, I guess the minivan that can protect you in any way, shape, or form.
Well, it's a great conversation, Ryan. I mean, look, this is a situation that I thought good and hard as I was watching it as well, leading into the draft, thinking, here's Duke Tobin. He's basically their general manager there. He's tried and true, inside out, knows his football players. His dad was, if you remember, his dad being the Tobin who laid into Mel Kiper back in the infamous interaction during the draft. Look, these guys know how to put together a team, and they know the personnel. In the very end, your GM/personnel VP needs to sit down with the coach and the owner in this situation and discuss the importance of having the ability to protect. And if you feel as an organization, as a GM and team builder, that you have the makings to continue to build around that offensive line to protect your guy, great. But that is a situation where they need to continue to build there. So I agree with you to get a receiver. That's where my head was going in. There are a lot of good receivers out there. You don't necessarily always need to get them in the top 5 or 10. I love the idea of having Penny Sewell there. They must have had a reason. And maybe in the end, the linking of, a quarterback with his former receiver, it happened a couple times, right? That seems to be a little bit of a trend as well. I don't want to overplay that. The importance of protecting Matt Ryan in the past, and I thought about that over the years. I've learned some lessons, many lessons along the way, of course, but per offensive line and protecting Matt was the best when he had the best offensive line around him, and we were dialed in. And, I hope Burrow continues to thrive there. They need to make sure that they have people around him. Maybe they'll continue to go out in free agency. But that was a legit pick that they decided to move. And that's a big-time organization move, going with receiver over tackle.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.
What'd you take away from that, B?
That they royally screwed up.
Yeah. So, he makes a valid point. Like, there's a lot of good receivers in that draft, like there is in every draft. I say it every year. There's great value in the second and third rounds in just about every single draft for receivers. And you don't necessarily need to get the number 1 or the number 2 receiver in the top 5 or the top 10 and sink all of your eggs into that basket. The problem is what happens when that receiver doesn't work out, right? Highest graded rookie. I don't have this pulled up. Highest graded rookie receivers.
Well, that was the 2021 draft, correct?
Yeah.
So just imagine for a second that the Bengals took Penei Sewell with their number 1 pick, and then they turn around in round 3 and they jump ahead of the Lions and they take Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 3rd round. Mm-hmm. Imagine that team with those 2 players. Oh my God. Burrow would be healthy, because his left tackle wouldn't be allowing him to get sacked and hurt on every other play. Mm-hmm. And they would have had a dynamic wide receiver. And the Lions would have been like the Lions of the past with Matt Millen taking Megatron. We have the great wide receiver, but we don't have anyone to block for our quarterback. So I like the way it worked out. But just imagine the Bengals with those 2 players on it, and they could have had both in that draft.
Yeah, I think that they made a huge mistake, obviously. Hindsight's always 20/20.
Yes.
I will always, no matter what, we can say what we think now, but if you don't put it on video, if you don't put it in writing ahead of time, right, then it's kind of hard for a lot of these people to go back and say, well, see, I told you so, or that's what I was thinking back then. You hear a lot of analysts say that stuff, but did you actually put it out there? That is why, which I think I'm way behind on my writing right now, but that is why I put everything in writing, because I want to have the receipts there just in case we need them, that, hey, this is what we spoke about. This is kind of where we saw things happening, or, these were the players that we saw that were going to be the best, so on. And, that way you actually have something to go back that's credible. Otherwise, you just get a lot of hot air from people that say they said something or say they thought something, but they really didn't.
Well, you could hear Ryan Leaf there in that video. He was saying they screwed up. They should have drafted Penei Sewell. They needed a left tackle. And at the time, Penei Sewell was a left tackle. We made him into a right tackle. And I do believe that if he had been put in at left tackle, he would have been the best left tackle in the league, just like he's the best right tackle in the league. And he wouldn't have had the big learning curve having to, switch up all of his footwork for the right side because he was playing on the left.
Trying to find something real quick. While I'm looking something up, why don't you run us through the NFC North report real quick?
Okay, so we're going to start with the Minnesota Vikings today. The Vikings failed by buying a new offensive line instead of working to make their own players better. How the Vikings cast-offs are thriving elsewhere. The Minnesota Vikings offseason plan to overhaul their interior offensive line is backfiring 4 weeks into the season, and it's backfiring very poorly. The new look offensive line has been ravaged by injuries, including issues for first-round pick Donovan Jackson with his wrist, new center Ryan Kelly, multiple concussions, and tackle Brian O'Neill with an MCL sprain. As a result of the injuries and poor protection, the Vikings are giving up a league-high 4.5 sacks per game, a historically bad pace. And to add a little salt to the wound, the 2 former high draft picks that the team moved on from are now excelling with their new teams. Former center Garrett Bradbury has been solid for the Patriots, having not allowed a sack through 4 games. And most notably, former guard Ed Ingram, who was traded to the Texans for just a 6th-round pick, is currently PFF's number 1 graded guard in the entire NFL, excelling as a dominant run blocker. It may be fair to second-guess the decision to bail too soon on this young talent, and a player like Ingram getting traded for only a 6th-round pick. And he is the number 1 guard right now in the NFL. What are your thoughts on that, Will? Did the Vikings give up on the talent they already have too soon?
I didn't listen to anything you were saying. Honestly, I'm trying to get something done. But what's the question?
Well, the question is, Garrett Bradbury, he plays for the Patriots now. He played for the Vikings. They let him go for nothing. And he is not allowed a sack through 4 games as the center for the Patriots. And then former guard Ed Ingram was traded to the Texans for a 6th-round pick. And he is currently PFF's number 1 graded guard in the entire NFL. The Vikings tried to buy a new offensive line. I would have
to go in and look. So Bradbury's playing for who now?
The Patriots.
And he's played every game, every snap?
Yeah, he's kicking butt.
You're positive he's played every game, every snap?
Yep, as far as I know. Yep.
Garrett Bradbury?
Yeah.
So whenever I want to make a full comment on this, I would need to go in and do the research to see where his snaps are, where his snap load is. 254 snaps right now at center. His pass blocking grade's a 73.1. His run blocking grade's a 53.2. His overall grade is a 60.3. What did the article say he was doing?
It just said that he has not allowed a sack through 4 games. And then with Ed Ingram, he was a high round pick for the Vikings, and they traded him away for a 6th-round pick to the Texans, and he is PFF's number 1 graded guard in the entire NFL. And he's excelling as a run blocker. And to me, this just seems like they gave up on the talent that they already had on this team. Imagine the Vikings, just like the Bengals, if they had not given up on these 2 players and they just kept them and matured them and coached them.
So Ed Ingram and Bradbury were both on the Vikings?
Yes.
Okay.
And both drafted by the Vikings.
Then I don't
And
understand.
then-
I don't understand why they would have gotten rid of them. But yeah, I'm looking at Edring Ingram's grades right now, and he is doing well in the run block, but his pass blocking is terrible. His pass blocking is absolutely terrible. He's 54.2. So there must be some things here that just were not working out, with their offensive scheme or their direction or whatever. But Bradbury's always been a fairly good center. It's hard to find a center in this league. It really is. And they only got a 6th-round pick back for Ingram.
Yes.
And what did they give for Bradbury?
Nothing.
Was he a free agent?
Yeah, I think they just let him go.
Okay. So it was probably a money thing, They didn't want to overpay. I would have to do more research to give you a real valid take, because honestly I don't know either of them. I don't know much about them.
All right. Next, we're going to move on to the Packers. The Lions and the Packers are now tied for the NFC North odds at -110 to win the NFC North. Both the Packers and Lions are tied. And now their Super Bowl odds are both the same at +850. So this got me thinking. Packers coach Matt LaFleur had Aaron Rodgers for multiple years and once played a game versus Tom Brady. When the Packers drove the ball inside the 10-yard line with less than 2 minutes left, Coach LaFleur decided to trot out the field goal unit instead of going for it, and the Packers were down by 8 points. Fast forward to the Cowboys game last Sunday, and LaFleur had 1 second left in overtime. And instead of going for the win from the 1-yard line, he trotted out the field goal unit for the tie instead of the win. Is this something you could ever see Dan Campbell doing? Going for a tie instead of a win with 1 second left from the 1-yard line. I don't believe Dan Campbell would ever in his lifetime even think about trotting the field goal unit out to go for a tie. I think it's in Dan's DNA to go for it and to try to win the game.
Which game were you talking about again?
So the overtime game against the Cowboys on Sunday.
Yep.
LaFleur with 1 second left on the clock,
Mm-hmm.
even though they bungled the end of the game, they ended up getting 1 second left on the clock from the 1-yard line. They could either go for it and win the game or kick a field goal and settle for a tie. And Matt LaFleur settled for a tie. People hate the ties in the NFL. They don't want to see ties in the NFL. Well, maybe these coaches need to grow a set and go for it from the 1 with 1 second left to go. Because I know guaranteed MCDC Motor City Dan Campbell would be trotting out David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, his big set, 2 tight ends, and he would be going for it. Now, he might run a trick play. He might throw it back to Amon-Ra and have him throw it to Jared Goff. He may do a toss sweep with Jahmyr Gibbs. He might do something crazy like a QB sneak or run David Montgomery up the gut. I don't know, but I can guarantee you this. Dan Campbell would rather die on that field going for the win than to settle for the tie. And I think that is Matt LaFleur's downfall.
Yeah, I would say that
Green Bay.
I would say that it all depends on where you're at in the season. Honestly, if it's week 18 and a tie puts you into the playoffs, if a tie wins the NFC North, Dan's kicking the field goal.
Yeah, but if it's week 4,
if it's week 4 like it is, and your team is what 2-1,
yeah,
2-1. I don't know. Did Matt LaFleur not understand the overtime rules? Did he not realize that if he ties the game right there, the game is done? He'll probably never admit to that, but that could be it. That maybe he didn't understand the overtime rules. So you didn't trust Jordan Love. You didn't trust your offensive line. He didn't trust his offense at the 1-yard line or his play caller to come up with a play to get a touchdown. I think that's what he's saying. That's what he just breathed into his team. I don't trust you. Dan wouldn't do that because he's built trust with his team. They've built trust within Dan that whatever the call is, that's the right call. And whatever happens, we're going to live with it. And look, Dan's raised this team that way. In the beginning, 21 and 22, we lived with some hard losses at times because of his risk. Now I think his risk is a little bit more calculated. I don't think that Dan wants to tie ever. I think he wants to go for the throat, wants to go for the win. But I'd say it's situationally dependent more than anything else. And in this situation, this early in the season, I think you need to go for the win. I really do. I think you have to go for the win, especially it's the first quarter. If you come up with a loss and you're 2-2, like, season's not over. You still have plenty of time. Look, 4 losses in the NFC North is probably still going to win the North. 5 losses could still win the North. So a loss to the Cowboys there, the only thing that did for Matt LaFleur, if he had this much time to think it all through, is that he has a potential half of a game tiebreaker over the Lions if the Lions lose to the Cowboys. That's what he has. So I don't know. Again, I don't know if he thought through all that. I doubt anyone asked him those questions. Why did you tie it now versus go for the win? Was there any future season-long implications that you were considering? Be interesting to know. I think Dan Campbell probably would have told us, in the press conference, this is why we did it. This is why. But yeah, you're right, man. Look, Dan Campbell's got a set of cojones on him that he's willing to put on the table any given day, any given moment. He trusts his team. He has confidence in his team. LaFleur doesn't. He doesn't have confidence. And I think he's trying to save his job. Go for the tie. And don't take the loss.
And, the Lions, they've went for it 9 times on 4th down this year. They've gotten 7 of 9. And twice it's been inside the 5-yard line. And they've gotten touchdowns on both of them. So that's where it comes into mind for me. I think just like during regulation, in overtime, Dan's going to go for the win. He's not going to go for a tie. No way. I don't care if there's 1 second left or 2 minutes left, whatever there is. He is going to go for it every time. And moving on to the Chicago Bears for the NFC North report, the Chicago Bears are going into their bye week, and they got a little bit of news today regarding one of their former franchise quarterbacks, Jay Cutler. Cutler, 42, played in the National Football League for 12 seasons. Cutler, a first-round draft pick out of Vanderbilt in 2006, was a Pro Bowler in 2008. He was named one of the 100 greatest Bears of all time in 2005. He was named the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. And this week, Cutler officially reported to jail. TMZ Sports reported on Monday that Cutler was booked into Williamson County Jail at around 8 a.m. local time. He is reportedly set to be in jail until Friday. Cutler was sentenced to jail over a DUI arrest. He was arrested in October of 2024. He was accused of showing visible signs of intoxication after a traffic accident in Franklin, Tennessee. Authorities alleged Cutler rear-ended a car, and when officers showed up to investigate the scene, he reeked of booze and had bloodshot eyes and was slurring his words. Cutler, who was arrested over the incident, was later sued by a man who claimed Cutler was at fault for the accident. In the lawsuit, the plaintiff, Perry Lee, stated he sustained injuries in the collision and is in daily pain. Cutler was ordered to spend 4 days in jail last month. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of misdemeanor DUI. Cutler was also ordered to pay a $350 fine while also being on probation. So it sounds like he got away with a DUI and not having to pay much, a $350 fine and a few days in jail. That seems pretty easy to me, because here in Michigan, you're gonna go down for a lot more than that. It's like a $10,000 fine, or at least it used to.
Well, I'm sure you pay a lot to an attorney, but yeah, in Michigan, it's your first one is like 10 G's.
Yeah,
and it's more than that if you involve attorneys and everything else. So yeah, just don't drink and drive, man. That's stupid. But hey, Bears do Bears things. Bears suck. Bears suck. F the Bears, man. F the Bears.
And speaking of the Bears, if you got it lined up,
I do.
The Bears have now sunken to a brand new low. They are using witchcraft to win games now. For their last 2 games, they've used the Etsy witch to win their games. And we're going to show you a little video. We'll do 2 or 3 minutes of it, and we'll show you what's going on with the Bears. Now, the Detroit Lions, they use Jeffrey Daniels and Peyton Manning with a bathtub full of whiskey. And that got rid of the curse of Bobby Lane. So maybe the Etsy witch can take care of things for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, let me pull that up. Before I do, though, 2 quick things. I just seen this message by Trace. Did anybody, when you tapped onto the video this morning, did it tell you to buy a membership? It says join this channel to get access to members only content. So unless you tapped on a members only video, it shouldn't say that. Only if you tapped on a members only video, it'll never tell you to buy a membership. And the second thing, David Napier, I had a question for you because you said that YouTube was having some issues, real buggy or something. My question is, are you on a phone, a TV, a PC? What are you on? So we are recording, or we're live in 2K, so 1440p. And it should only be set at 30 frames a second. So depending on the type of device that you have, you might want to change your settings to be 720p. And that usually gives you the best ability to watch. It's all based on your internet, honestly. I've tested all of these things out from multiple devices, and you just got to make sure that you have good signal. Sometimes when you're connected to Wi-Fi, unconnect, and you'll get better signal. So, yeah, I see your message. If all the videos are having a problem, then I would say it's your internet, honestly. Yeah, okay, I see now. Yep, it would be internet. All right, well, I try to help people figure out the best way to watch. We've had, all sorts of issues in the past. Sometimes YouTube is just on one. All right, let's dial in this video here, talking about the Wicked Witch of the East, or is it the Wicked Witch of the West?
But they're west of us.
But the Bears want wins, and they're going to get a witch for wins, I guess. I don't know. It's Halloween month, I guess. Bears. So stupid.
We're going to bring in Mandy Marin, also known as the Office Scribe on TikTok. Mandy, we are so excited to have you. This has been going all over TikTok, all over social media in general. What are these Etsy witches for people at home who are not familiar?
So technically, I'm not an Etsy witch. I'm doing this for the love of the game. I've been a Bears fan my whole life. I live here in Chicago. There are Etsy witches, though, that you can hire online to cast spells on your behalf. And I've just kind of taken that upon me for the entire Bears fandom to cast the spells myself.
So what goes into casting these spells, so to speak? What's the mind behind the magic?
So a lot of it's just intention and thought. It's not, it's not the dark arts. It's just kind of focusing your energy. So a lot of spells will start with, lighting candles, and I've chosen Bears candles, salt for protection, different herbs. You can lay out crystals, whatever it is. I think I've found that what works best for these Bears spells is adding in some Chicago elements. So in addition to just adding normal salt for protection, I've started adding celery salt.
Oh,
and
that's
the
so funny.
ingredient is jardinera.
Love that.
Who would have known?
Chicago style,
So
baby.
you're telling me that you don't have like a dark closet in your house where you have your whole like altar set up. It's more of a friendly ode to an altar.
Yeah, it's not in a closet. It's actually just literally right next to my desk where I'm sitting right now. It's out for everyone to see. I don't hide in the shadows.
All right, everyone. We are now in week 4
Sorry, we're listening.
with
That was-
Bears versus Raiders.
We can listen,
Back home
guys.
at my
Go
own
back to it.
altar, not at my mom's house. So everything's a little bit more appropriate. So again, we are starting out with an orange and a blue candle. You'll notice they're a little bit more awesome than the birthday candles. We're just going to get some smoke cleansing going on because there's still a little bit of negativity surrounding their win last week. Some doubters out there, which is not going to help the case at all. But we're not going to change anything about this because it worked last week, so it's going to work again. So we're going to start off with adding some salt for protection. Just a normal salt. But then remember, the next step is celery salt for Chicago.
Celery salt. I love that. So is there like, just so I understand your routine, do you start this up at a certain time? Are you doing this at a certain time of day?
Oh,
And
the
does it
spell
have to
booted their
be,
guest.
Several, did we lose her?
Mandy, what the? Are these some like
Oh,
witchy
dude, I
things
can't
that are
quit
happening?
laughing.
The energy?
This
The
is
energy,
so
like,
ridiculous.
we're about to go negative.
I got to kill this
There you
now.
go.
No, you're back.
Yeah. I just wanted everybody
is
to
there,
see
like, a certain
how
time
ridiculous this all is.
Hold on real quick. So here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not. What in the f are they doing in Chicago? Like, are you serious right now? So, like you said, you know, we have stuff like this. We have. Hold on, where is it? We have things like this.
Yeah.
We have Jeff Daniels singing songs, right? Jeff Daniels and Peyton Manning doing the whole whiskey tub. Or you've got, you know, things like, you know, Will Rock does over here. Hold on. Stuff's a little bit oily. I don't know why it's so oily today. Anyway, I'm going to take me some goal line. Well, it's not showing up. I'm going to take me some goal line scent. There you go. NFL version of goal line scent. And I'm going to drop a piece into my wax melter. That's what I'm gonna do. That's about the only dark magic I need, because that's for
Etsy
David
warlock.
Montgomery, right? That's for David Montgomery.
Yeah. You're an Etsy warlock, Will.
Jesus, man.
Will the Etsy warlock.
Oh, an Etsy witch. So are they? Let me turn that down. Are they paying these people for this stuff?
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to create me an Etsy account. I'm gonna say I'm a Bears witch, and then I'm just gonna cast spells against them. That's what I'm gonna pay me $100, and I'm gonna cast a spell for the Lions. How about that?
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness, man!
My eyes are watering.
Unbelievable.
Oh, that was funny.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so that's your NFC North report for today. The stuff I come up with sometimes.
What is wrong with them, man?
I have no clue. Oh God.
I still can't get over that Ben Johnson face when he was talking to that reporter. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he went straight demon.
Oh yeah, he gave her the stink eye for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Unreal. Be right back.
It's game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning.
All right. One more piece of information for the NFC North report. According to Pro Football Talk and others, they're stating that the Lions and the Packers are now co-division champions, meaning They're thinking that we are co-favorites to win. Here's what it says. After trading for Micah Parsons, the Packers entered the 2025 season as the favorites to dethrone the Lions and win the NFC North. When the Packers blew out, they blew us out in week 1. I didn't know that we really got blown out. But anyway, they firmly established themselves as the overwhelming favorites. Well, it's funny what 3 more weeks says about that. But it's a long season, and the NFL approaches week 5. The Lions and Packers are now co-favorites to win the division. Green Bay and Detroit are both listed as having plus 110 odds to win the NFC North via DraftKings. And since that week 1 game, the Lions have been on a tear with 3 consecutive impressive wins. The Packers followed a week 3 loss to the frickin' Browns, with a week 4 tie against the Cowboys. At 3-1, the Lions are now all alone in first place, half a game ahead of the 2 1-1 Packers. And the Packers' week 1 head-to-head win is important, although tiebreakers are unlikely to come to play now that the Packers have a tie and are unlikely to finish the season with the same record as the Lions. Really? Co-favorites? I don't think so.
Yeah, give it another week or 2.
I don't think so. I think that the Bears are going to absolutely implode. And I hate to say it, but I love to say it actually. They really screwed up by bringing in Micah Parsons. You brought in a guy that has a back history, major back history now. And I mean, literally his back. We spent way too much money. They didn't secure Jordan Love enough of an offensive line. And you're going to have to deal with the Lions that are continually getting better and better and adding more and more pieces. The next time that we play the Packers, which is what, week?
Thanksgiving.
So, Thanksgiving. You're going to should have DJ Reed back. Alim McNeill should be firing on all cylinders. Davenport should be back. Pascal, I mean, we can only hope that he's going to be back.
Rodrigo, maybe.
Rodrigo could be back. But again, it's like I said yesterday, it's like we have this shelf, you've got that, like the shelf in your pantry, where you store all the extra stuff, right? You got your reserves. We have like a reserve list. I mean, yeah, I guess it's really called a reserve list, but we got these injured guys that are coming back to the team, and it's like they're trickling in kind of at the right time. Now, obviously, Alim McNeill's not going to hit the field soon enough to be able to help with the loss of DJ Reed, because I think that the best way that you can help, cure the issue we have in the secondary is get a little bit stronger up front. But I also believe it's changing the scheme a little bit. We've got a good situation happening where last season, guys left. They didn't come back. This season, guys are leaving and coming back, and we have guys that are still getting back from last year. Lions are in a good spot. Obviously, the team is operating at a high level right now. And I would say that, after week 1, when everybody was crying, or a lot of people were crying about the edge or this or that or the other thing, Eric, let's go into pass rusher rankings. And I thought that you had a piece too on...
I do.
Yeah, on pass rusher or corner.
Yeah, so my piece is, let's talk about the NFC North and what is the most needed position for each team after the first 4 weeks. So starting with the Chicago Bears, this is from NFL Pro. It says that the biggest need is help with the run defense for the Chicago Bears. Running back is an option given that DeAndre Swift's ineffective play, 3.3 yards per carry so far. At this point, however, the NFL's worst run defense is the bigger concern. The Bears have allowed 120 plus rushing yards each week, including a whopping 240 yards against the Raiders in week 4. Genty tore them up. The interior has been blown off the ball, and the offseason addition of Grady Jarrett, who missed week 4 with a knee injury, hasn't provided much of a boost in either the run game, 4 total tackles, or the pass rush with 3 QB pressures. So they're saying that the biggest need for the Chicago Bears isn't a running back, but it's help with their run defense. So that means the line the defensive line or linebacker would be their biggest need for the Chicago Bears. Well, me watching the Chicago Bears, the games that I've caught this year so far, DeAndre Swift looks like his old self when he was with the Lions. He's good for a game or two, and then he completely disappears. And they just have no bruiser back to go along with him. So they don't have a David Montgomery. They had one. They had David Montgomery, and they let him go to the Lions. So in my opinion, I think the biggest need for the Chicago Bears is a running back. They need a big bruiser. And that's the one thing that might help them out. What's your opinion on the Bears, Will?
I think that they need time more than adding, players to that roster. I really think that they just need time. DeAndre Swift he's good in space, right? He's good at gaining leverage with speed.
Yeah.
They definitely don't have a true power back. And I'll be damned if I'm going to say that David Montgomery is a power back anymore. He hates it. He absolutely
don't
hates
call him
it.
He's a running back, man. He's a running back.
I would take that as a compliment if someone said that, I'm a power back with speed, because he definitely has some speed and he definitely runs with power. I call him the sledgehammer for a reason. Like he's fun to watch, man. He really is. But just looking at their depth chart, looking at their running back room, they have Kyle Mananji, Roshan Johnson. Roshan Johnson is 6'2", 227, so he's more of their power style, if you will, size wise. This Kyle Manangai or Manangai, he's 5'8", 207. He's definitely not, your big bruiser of a back. And then DeAndre Swift, he's 5'8", 204. So they really have two DeAndre Swifts, and then they have Roshan Johnson, who they would use potentially around the goal line. I don't know that Roshan has had a ton of opportunity this year. I don't see much for stats at all.
Through the first 3 games, he hadn't had a single carry, and they've even reverted to, they've brought themselves down to using DJ Moore as a running back, because they just have no one at running back.
It's just crazy. It's just crazy to me that they wouldn't use Roshan Johnson. So, I guess to your point, to stick with this, it was either running back or edge, right? Wasn't that the segment?
Well, running back, or for them, they say help with the run defense. So is that edge? Is that a nose tackle? Is that a linebacker? I don't know. It doesn't really say a position per se. It just says their biggest need is help with run defense. I think their biggest need is a running back. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think they just need time. Honestly, I think they need time to let things kind of gel. This is going to be a roster that is going to be changing over the next 2-3 seasons, probably by 20% at least every year over year. They're going to be gutting, as much as they can every season. But then again, it all depends on what Ryan Poles buys. Like he keeps spending money on these players that are, supposed to stick around for a little bit. It's kind of hard to walk away from those guys. But they definitely need to add another running back. I would agree with that. Just right now, it's not going to happen. Off the edge, you would look at what they brought in this year and what they had last year. I think it's just time. But Montez Sweat has not turned out to be the player that everyone thought that he was going to be. At least in their system. Maybe in a different system. But again, that's why I say you can't just go out and buy what you need all the time. You need to breed it. You need to build it. You need to develop it, because, just listen to what Dan said the other day. If you breed the right guys, you don't have to worry about having the wrong guys in the locker room. You don't have to worry about, the guys going out there and putting the work in, right? You just have to worry about them staying healthy. That's it. That's all you have to worry about, is them staying on the field. Outside of that, they should do what they're supposed to do, because you picked the right guy. You developed the right guy. You brought him in when they're young. And that is why the draft and develop technique has always worked in the NFL. It may not work as fast as fans want it, But man, once it starts to happen, year 3, year 4, year 5, you start to see the fruits of that labor. There's no reason why the Lions shouldn't be perennial winners, perennial contenders, I should say, now that we are at the point of watching this roster turn from great to even greater every year, even better every year. All right, what was next or part of that segment?
So the next team up is the Minnesota Vikings. This says that their biggest need is offensive line depth. And I think I happen to agree with this one. A week ago, I might have said corner was the Vikings' biggest need, but a rash of injuries have put a hole in their best laid plans to solidify the O-line this offseason. Brian O'Neill's MCL is a killer, as they experienced on Sunday versus Pittsburgh, when Carson Wentz was sacked 6 times. While Ryan Kelly and Donovan Jackson are also banged up, if Minnesota doesn't secure better protection, it won't matter who is under center. And I totally agree with this one, that the Minnesota Vikings better figure out something on that offensive line, or it just doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. It doesn't matter. JJ McCarthy is going to be under attack, or Carson Wentz is under attack, or their draft pick from this year, he'll be under attack. No one is going to succeed in an offense with no offensive line. It just can't happen.
This is the Bengals, right? Or I'm sorry, the Vikings.
Vikings.
Right?
Yeah.
Taking a look at the Vikings depth chart here, Jordan Mason, let's see, he's running back, Justin, Jordan, Jalen. All right, left tackle, Christian Darrisaw, supposed to be pretty good. Donovan Jackson, brought in this year, supposed to be pretty good at left guard, has not panned out. He's also injured. Ryan Kelly at their center position, I think he's pretty good too. Again, just takes time. Will Freeze, I don't know that I'm sold on Will Freeze. And then their right tackle, Brian O'Neill. I know absolutely nothing about Brian O'Neill.
So Brian O'Neill has an MCL sprain, and Ryan Kelly has had 2 concussions in 4 games.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. I mean, Brian O'Neill's a big dude, 6'7", 310. I mean, his blocking grades are okay. 70.5 against the run, 69.3 against the pass. 72.4 overall. I mean, that's not terrible, right? It's not terrible. But you just said that Brian has an MCL sprain?
Yeah, so he was out of the game, and he may not be back in for a while. Same thing with Ryan Kelly. You know, Ryan Kelly had 2 concussions in 2 games, or in 4 games.
Oh, was it back to back, or was it in the first 4 weeks?
He was in it. He was the second game and the 4th game. He got a concussion, and then Donovan Jackson has a wrist injury. So I don't know who the 3 backups are that are going in for these 3 guys, but that's who's giving up all the sacks, and just it's not working for them. This offensive line that they paid for this year, instead of drafting and cultivating and bringing up their own guys, they let their own guys walk in free agency, and they traded away one of their best guys for nothing, for a 6th round pick. This is what we were saying in the offseason, and we said it about the Bears also, about their offensive line, but the Bears, their offensive line seems to be working out a little bit better than Minnesota's. Minnesota's just getting the injury bug like we did with our defensive line last year. They're getting it with their offensive line this year with injury.
I mean, Darrishaw's been with the Vikings for a while. I think they drafted him. Donovan Jackson, I'm pretty positive they drafted him.
They did.
Right? And so let me look at their depth chart again.
But my point is, they could have had, just like Detroit, they could have had a whole line with all guys that they drafted. So every player on the Detroit Lions starting 5 this season was originally drafted by the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. I mean, their depth chart's not great when you look at all the injuries that they have stacked right now, because even behind Ryan Kelly, their backup Juergens is also questionable. They lost Matt Nelson earlier to IR. They lost Zeke Correll, who was a fourth stringer, to IR as another center. They have 4 centers on this roster. But they have Justin Skule and they have Joe Huber in the backup role. In Skule, I'm pretty sure he's bounced around a little bit, but this is his first year with the Vikings. Joe Huber, I really don't know anything about him, but this is his first season. He might have just been drafted this year. He might be a rookie. The name doesn't sound familiar. And then Will Freeze, he has been a Viking for his first year this year. So, yeah, 2/5 of that line are homegrown.
Yep.
Yeah, it was probably just a money thing as to why they got rid of him. All right, what's next?
All right. And then up next, we have the Green Bay Packers. And this says that their biggest need is beef inside, whatever that means. The loss of Devontae Wyatt to a knee injury on Sunday highlighted some depth issues on the interior. The Packers have given up 213 rushing yards combined over the past 2 weeks after a Studley opening to the season. We know general manager Brian Gutekunst doesn't love trading assets, particularly for stopgap solutions, but he's already all in after acquiring Micah Parsons. Why not push more into the middle to plug a hole? Well, Brian Gutekunst, you had Kenny Clark, who was a big run stuffer, and that was something we highlighted, that they were not going to be able to stop the run like they used to because Kenny Clark, their best run stuffer, is now in Dallas. So, of course, their biggest need is Kenny Clark.
Okay, so obviously the beef in the middle is on the defensive line. And, yeah, they lost him. I still think that this was probably the stupidest move ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kenny was obviously getting a little bit, his tread wear was it's getting pretty low, right? On the tires. He's been in the league for a little bit, but he's produced at a high level. He's the only player that really gave the Lions fits from year to year. He's like the one guy Rashawn Gary too, but he's the one guy you really had to worry about on that defense. And without him, of course, Micah Parsons is a pretty damn good football player, but I just don't see it panning out long term. I don't see how you pay a guy $47 million a year to produce what Kenny Clark was doing for, peanuts compared to that. We'll see where it goes, but I will always believe in the fact that the center of your defense is the most important part of your front. It is not the edge. It is the center of your defense, and then it is your outside linebackers in coverage. That is the most important part of that front. Obviously, your DBs play a huge role too. But let's get into the Lions, because there's something that they were saying about the Lions that I know I'm not going to agree with.
All right. So the NFC North, a lot of our fans through the first 4 weeks, especially after Davenport went down, were screaming that we needed another edge player. Well, this particular article does not agree with those fans, and neither do I. So this says the biggest need is cornerback. With DJ Reed's hamstring injury, it's not season ending, but he'll be out for at least 4 weeks. And then fellow starter Terrion Arnold is also banged up and may not play this week. In the short term, that puts Khalil Dorsey,
who's injured,
who is also in concussion, Rock Yassin and Avante Maddox playing roles alongside Amik Robertson to fill those roles of DJ Reed and Terrion Arnold. So do you think that the biggest need right now, with what we've done, bringing in these free agents and filling in our roster on the back end, do you think that our biggest need right now is cornerback, edge, or something else?
What did the article say?
The article says that our biggest need is corner. So
Okay. I thought earlier you said that it was edge.
No, I was saying that all of our fans think that it's edge. And has it turned now? Because if you would have asked this question after week 3, this article would have been the biggest need is a pass rusher, an edge. And I think in 1 week's time, now it has changed to cornerback.
Let me just put up a poll here. So here's the poll question. What is the biggest need for the Lions right now? Is it edge? Is it corner? Is it linebacker?
Backup quarterback.
Is it no? Is it offensive lineman? Offensive line? We'll roll with those 4 options.
Sure. Yeah.
So what is the biggest need right now? I mean, I guess I could have thrown safety in there too, but I can only put 4 in. I'm curious to see what you guys are all thinking. Okay, so I thought that that you said that the article had mentioned edge. To answer the question real quick, the Lions blood. What do I think about Asante Samuel? I think that he's injured right now, and he's coming back from a back injury, and I don't think that he's going to make it, into Detroit right now. So I guess let me just pull that up. So he had an updated return timeline this offseason from surgery was he had offseason neck surgery. He had a spinal fusion, which is exactly what I have. I just don't know which ones he had done. Checkup in July, yada, yada, yada. Samuel appeared in just 4 games last season due to injury. In those 4 games, Samuel surrendered a completion percentage of 66.7, which is really good. Passer rating of 89.6, which is also really good. He's also only 25. But as far as a possible return with the Chargers is concerned, because the chances are it isn't going to happen unless the Chargers have injury concerns, and they are pretty stocked at corner. So where was the update? The update said, here's a quote. An update on Asante Samuel. He's scheduled to undergo a CT scan in October to ensure the successful spinal fusion. At that point, he will look to sign with a team for the second half of the year. Several teams have kept in touch. So, interesting. Here's what I know about spinal fusion, having had a couple myself. If the surgery took and it's successful, he's going to have limited range of motion in his neck no matter what. I don't care who does your surgery. You're going to have a fusion there, which means that if it was, you have 2 vertebrates that are fused together, that's now one solid piece of bone. You've lost that inner space there with the disc material that allows your neck to move back and forth. How bad it is will depend on how he did through, all of his work after surgery. All of the work that I had to do. I mean, I didn't do nearly as much as I'm sure as what he did. And my neck is a little bit frozen, especially day to day. But I wouldn't bring a guy like this in. I do like Asante Samuel before the injury. But haven't we had enough injured guys? I mean, don't we hear that enough from the fans already? That Brad Holmes brings in all these injured guys. Okay, you can get Asante Samuel probably for a pretty cheap rate for 1 year. That prove it deal to park on the roster. And you, I mean, I don't know, if you put him on the practice squad, which I can't imagine that would happen. What happens if it doesn't work out? The minute he takes one wrong hit, it could be over. And so if we're going to blame Brad for bringing in all these injured players, this is not one that I would take a risk on. Just look at Levi, man. Levi's played 1 season for us so far. Back injury, right? I think he's also had a lumbar fusion. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that was reported at some point that he had a lumbar fusion. And those are so tough to come back from without playing football. So, yeah, I would say, yeah, do I like the player? Yeah. Do I think that it's a possibility? I don't. Next question in the chat before I get to this other answer here. Frazier's not coming back right now. According to Dan Campbell the other day, he said that at this time last year, they knew Mahogany was trending well. This time this year for Frazier is unlikely that he's going to be able to make it this season. So, not that we really need him, but it would have been really nice to get him back. I think that he's going to be a pretty solid dude for us on this offensive line. But our offensive line's playing pretty good right now. We just don't have any major depth behind what we have. If we had to go to our role players, and into the depth chart, I think that it's a severe drop-off right now. And that will get better. It will get better by next year. So to answer the question, what does the poll say? 81% say corner. 12% say edge. 6% say offensive line. That's 16 votes. I don't know how many people we have in right now, but we should get at least 50 votes on that.
102.
Yeah, we should get at least 50%. Let's get 50 votes on that. Okay, I'm just going to go with the theory that, a lot of people have been saying edge, right?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the screen. A lot of people were saying edge before the season, during the preseason, after week 1. And then the Lions come out and smack 7 sacks on the Browns and currently are in first place with sacks on the season. But if you listen to certain people, they're going to say, oh, it's fake. It's all fake right now. Don't buy into the hype. It's all fake. Micah Parsons, I mean, this is a ranking list by PFF. This is rankings. This is not where these guys are on the actual list when you look at pass rush win rate, total pressures, batted passes, yada, 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 right? But Aiden Hutchinson is 4th on the list right now with a 92.1. And then if you just scroll a few more, El-Kadim Muhammad's number 11 with an 86.9. 23% win rate for AQM and 24.4% win rate for Aiden Hutchinson. 23 pressures for Aiden. I think 11 for AQM. Yeah, 11 for A. And remember, El-Kadim Muhammad barely played this last week. Barely
I have
played.
a question. I have a question for you, Will.
Okay.
So this is a Brad Holmes question. I'm Brad Holmes. I'm asking you this question right now. So, Will, can you tell me how many other teams have 2 pass rushers on this list in the top 11?
Ooh. Well, let's take a look. Packers have Micah. And, well, they don't have anybody else. The Browns have Miles. And then they have Malik. So they have 2 in the top 11,
Okay.
right?
So there's one, yeah.
Right, there's one. The Bills have Joey Bosa. And nobody else in the top 11. The Lions have 2. The Rams have Jared Verse. And then nobody else. The Texans have Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson. So there's 2.
Okay.
So there's 3. So there's 3 teams, right? There's 3 teams that have 2 players in the top 11. And the reason why we go to top 11 is because we have 2 guys that are tied at 8. So Jeffrey Simmons and Bryce Huff, which instead of going top 10, you go to top 11 because they're I don't know why they're tied. Doesn't make any sense to me, but they are. But here's where I think you're probably going to go with that. Not only is it highly unlikely to have 2 pass rushers in the top 10 on the same team, not only is it unlikely in the NFL, there's probably less than 3 teams that have 2 top tier. And when I say 2 top tier, it's not by rankings, it's by draft position. It's also by APY and how much money they make, meaning they're viewed as an elite pass rusher. Very few teams have two on the same team. The teams that have done it right, in my opinion, you can go look at the Rams all day and go look at how they're building. Go look at the Browns. Look at how they're building, bringing guys in. They're building, through the draft, and then they kept Myles Garrett. But here's where I'm going to go with this. Myles Garrett and Malik Collins. How many sacks did they get on Jared Goff this last week?
Goose egg.
Huh. So you have the number one defense, the number one edge room, didn't get a sack on what is not the number one offensive line in the league?
Yeah.
That's very interesting, isn't it?
Can you do me a favor, Will? Can you pull up the list of the most, which edge rushers have the most sacks in the league and do the same comparison?
Yeah, give me just 1 sec on that.
Because I wonder if two of our edge rushers are in the top 11 of sack masters in the NFL right now. And how many teams have two of them in the top 11?
Edge only?
Yeah. Edge rushers for sacks. Or just sacks, period. I don't care what position they play.
Here you go. This is edge only. Aiden Hutchinson has 5.
Ooh.
And Al-Qadim Muhammad has 4.
Nice.
And so that's
So
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's also the top 11. But Al-Qadim Muhammad is tied with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other guys with 4 sacks.
Okay. So are there any other teams with 2 players in the top 11 in sacks?
All right. So we've got Byron Young. Byron Young has 5.
Okay.
And they don't have anybody else in the top 11 because AQM would be the 11th, right?
Yep.
I don't see anybody. I mean, there's nobody in here. You can even go down to the 15th. And if you go down to the 15th, you would have Harold Landry, who I wanted the Lions to pick up, by the way, and Clavevon Chason. So if you go all the way down to, well, that's maybe the top 16. Then you would have another team that has 2 even in the top 16. But I wanted Harold Landry, and people thought I was nuts. And that dude is playing excellent right now. He did get it. I think he did get a pretty good bag, though. But it wasn't 30, 40 million. You know what I mean? I think he got like 18 million or something this year.
And where did he go?
New England.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, he went to go play with Terrell Williams. So yeah, the Lions have 2 guys, both 5 and 4 sacks, top 11 in sacks, and top 11 in rankings, and top 11 in pass rush win rate. So again, tell me. And we don't even have Davenport on the field yet, but he was right there too. He was already producing, throughout the first 2 weeks, he was the producer. The last 2 weeks without Davenport is when the production happened for Aiden. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because I feel like the Lions have done an excellent job at finding the right guys and building and doing the right thing on the defense. Schematically putting these guys in a position to win. But our linebackers right now, when you really think about what this Lions team is doing well, our linebackers are playing at such a high level. And that does help the edge position. It really does. And again, our DBs, like if we go to the DB room, and while I'm looking that up, you were going to say something, so go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say in the chat, Attila says that Al-Qadim Muhammad didn't have many snaps in game 1 and game 4,
right?
Which he didn't.
And to think that that's how many sacks and how much production he's had already.
Yeah, in basically 2 games. So did Brad Holmes do it? Do we have 2 elite pass rushers?
I think we have 3. And that's not even counting Josh Paschal. So Josh Paschal's a different style of an edge. He's a hybrid. but he is what you would consider a run stuffing edge. He is going to be the guy that, you're definitely going to use on any fourth down, but he also can play both first and second down. When you look at other guys, I mean, what do the Lions say? You've got to earn the right to rush the passer, right? Aiden just said it the other day too. You have to earn the right to rush the passer, which means you want guys that can play 3 downs. If you can play 3 downs, you've earned the right to rush the passer on third down. If you're not playing 3 downs, we don't want you on this team. That is why Zadarius Smith is not on this team. It's why I said it wasn't going to work out. He didn't play 3 downs. I'm sorry, but we got to pay attention to what the coaches are saying. We have to pay attention to what Calvin Shepard is trying to build. It's systematically, it's about the same as what Aaron Glenn was doing, but I think schematically and in his brain, he's like, no, we are not going to waver on having the right guys to fit what we're going to do. If you can't play 3 downs and your name is James Houston, and all you can do is rush the passer on third down, which I was a huge, I appreciated what James Houston did for the Lions. I appreciated that when he was in on third down that he could go and get after the passer, but he couldn't play first and second down because he was not great against the run. The Lions want to stop the run. That is the most important thing to them, is stopping the run. You shut it down, you make them one-dimensional, and then your edge can do the work that they're there to do. But without that, without shutting the run down, now you're exposed. So we have to pay attention. And I realize that not everybody pays attention the way that I do, or the way that you do, or, people that talk about the Lions every day. Yeah, we might pay attention to a little bit more than your average person does. But it doesn't mean that I'm better or anyone's better than you. It just means that you haven't watched as many videos, or you haven't, listened to all of the press conferences. And that's probably why you come here, to listen to some of that stuff, to get some of it broken down. But we pay attention to these things so we can identify what this team is really trying to do, to set the expectation the right way, and not, I don't want to put information out there, Eric. I don't know about you, but I don't want to just get the fan base all riled up and saying that we need to do X, Y, and Z because I didn't pay attention to something and I totally missed what the Lions were trying to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or I don't really understand what the stats are saying. Like, I got into not really an argument, but somewhat of a debate with somebody on Twitter the other day because they were saying that something about Aiden and looking at his pass rush, or his overall grade. And he mentioned every snap for Aiden. And I said, whoa. Like, that's not how, those aren't the real grades. It's not the pass rush grade. That's the overall grade. You have to look at the pass rush grade. And then you need to take out all of the other snaps. Only pass rush snaps. What is he really doing on a pass rush opportunity? Because out of 200 snaps, he didn't rush the passer 200 times. You might have had a true pass rush set 80 times. And so on those 80 plays, how many was he in for? And then what did he do? That's how you get a pass rush grade. So when some people look at stats, they look at all the overall numbers, but they don't dig a little bit deeper and to start pull some of this stuff out to then. And that's why when I come out of left field with stuff, people can't stand the stuff that I say sometimes, because I think they missed the beginning part of what I was saying. Like, we have to look at exactly what he's doing on each given opportunity, not just an overall grade. Simply said, and then I'm going to get off this soapbox.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a 95 overall grade, okay, and let's say that your run defense grade is a 95. Now, let's say you have a 93 overall grade, your run defense grade is a 95, and your pass rush grade is a 75. But your overall is a 95. One, it doesn't make any sense. I see it all the time. But people look at that and they say, oh, look, Aiden's the best pass rusher in the league. No, he's not. He has the best overall grade right now, or could. This is all hypothetical, by the way. But it's that run defense grade that is pulling all of those other grades up. So the overall grade is more identified to his run defense grade than it would be his pass rush grade. So you see that with certain players. And so then when you go in and you start to pull it apart, like Zadarius Smith had a 85.6 or something like that, but his pass rush grade was like a 79. So you have to pull it apart, man. It's just like anything else in life. You really have to get into the nuts and bolts of what you're looking at. The overall stuff is just a glorified number of what this player is doing as a whole, but it doesn't mean that that's what they are as just a pass rusher. I hope any of that made sense.
Oh yeah. And I got a couple things to back up what you're saying. You know, the Lions right now lead the league, tied for 14 sacks, and I think it's with Denver. So the Lions have the most sacks in the league right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Lions are pretty darn good against the run. And I'm going to tell you how they're doing. So I'm looking up their defensive rushing defense. The Lions are currently number 7, giving up 94 yards per game. So in my opinion, that's pretty darn good when you can have the most sacks in the league and give up the 7th least amount in the league. You're number 7 against the run. And then for total scoring defense, you're let's see where they're at for scoring defense.
They were at 22 points, I thought.
Yeah, so the scoring defense, the Lions are tied at 15 with 22 points per game. They've given up 11 touchdowns. That is pretty darn good. So we're top 15 with our scoring defense, because I like to use scoring defense in total instead of how many yards they've given up. You know, what does it matter if you give up 500 yards a game if you're only giving up 3 points? So when they say, you know, the number 1 defense in the league, the first stat they look at is total defense. And you want to know what total defense is? That's yards, defense yards per average per game. So the Browns are number 1 at 225 yards. But you know what? We've given up 11 touchdowns this year. The Browns have given up 12. So scoring defense, our defense is better than the Browns' number 1 defense. And that's all they talk about all week long is, you know, the Browns have the number 1 defense in the league, yet they've given up more touchdowns than the Lions have. So I would rather go with scoring defense, you know, and the Lions overall defense, they're giving up 290 yards a game and they're number 11 or number 12, excuse me, in overall. And they're giving up 293 yards per game. But you know what? Them and the Bills are number 11. The Lions are number 12. And guess what? The Bills and the Lions are kicking butt this year.
So I want to flush out the other part of the conversation is my camera is.
Uh-oh.
Something's wrong with my I look really flushed out right now.
Yep.
Like whited out. I don't know why. Okay. Take a look at the screen. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about here with pass rush. If you look at Aiden's score, he's got a 92.1, and it says pass rush, right? All pass rush. But if you look at how many snaps that he's had, 137. True pass set, 63. So out of all of those snaps, only 63 were a true passing set, which gives him a grade of 88.7. Same thing for Al-Qadim Muhammad. Attempt 73, pass rush 72, pass rush grade 86.9. But out of all those snaps, only 37 were true pass sets. Gives him a grade of 85. Those are the things that I pay attention to. And when you look at, 37 true pass set attempts, and he had 11 total pressures, he had 4 sacks. Aiden required double that almost. He required 63 attempts to get 1 more sack. So from an efficiency standpoint, Al-Qadim Muhammad, way more efficient. Like way, way more efficient. How many sacks are you getting per snap? That's how you get your efficiency grades. But overall, it looks like Aiden is just blowing everybody out the water, right? Look at the efficiency. The efficiency, to me, is what matters. So out of 100 snaps, here, let me just do the math. You got 4 out of 63. That means that he's getting a sack every 0.063% of the time. So that would be what, 6% of the time, right? No, 0.06. That should be 6%. 6.3% of the time. So out of 100 snaps, he should have 6 sacks. And for Aiden, I'm sorry. I was using the wrong numbers. For Al-Qadim Muhammad, it was 4 divided by 37. He's getting a sack 11% of the time. 11%.
Wow.
So Aiden is getting a sack we'll call it 8%, 7.9%. So Al-Qadim Muhammad is 4% more efficient. So out of 100 snaps, he should have 10 sacks. Or out of 100 true pass rush attempts, true pass rush sets, he should have 10 sacks. Aiden would have about 8. So Al-Qadim Muhammad, way more efficient. But he also has to get the opportunities. And he's not getting the opportunities for whatever reason. I still think that last week they held him out of the game a little bit.
He did have a knee injury last week, so he was limited in practice. And I think that's what happened with this past week, was that he just didn't get the opportunity because they put Lacey in and O'Connor in, and they were trying to keep Muhammad fresh. And Muhammad had a good game, even though he was only in for 11 plays or something, or 25 plays. Wasn't a whole lot. So I think they purposely held him back. They were winning the game. They didn't have to play him a whole bunch.
Let me throw this at you. Davenport.
Yeah, he'll be back.
Davenport, 9% of the time, he's getting a sack. So he had 1 sack in 2 games on 11 true pass rush sets.
Wow.
So if you have Al-Qadim Muhammad getting a sack every 10% of the time, Aiden at 8% of the time, Davenport at 9% of the time. Yeah, I think that we're pretty elite, ladies and gentlemen. I think that we're pretty elite. And to your point, yes, it did seem like against the Browns we gave some guys, or the Lions put some guys in to get some more opportunity to kind of see what they're doing, where they're at, where we can fit them in down the line. It was a perfect opportunity. Probably the same thing you're going to see against the Bengals, is getting some guys in, getting them some snaps. Todd Boudry says, using logic again, Will. Yeah, we try. Maureen says, does AQM have a longer wingspan? You know what? Without even looking it up, I would say that he probably does. I would say, I'm just going to look it up. I'm going to look it up. Let's see. Wingspan. Al-Qadim Muhammad. .63. Am I on the right guy? Yes, I am. 6'3", 253. This is back when he was drafted. 6'3", 253. 33 and a quarter inch arms, so he's got the arm length that I like. 9 and 3/8 inch hands. Got decent hand size. And where's his wing? Why is there no wingspan on this? Okay, so let's remember he's 6'3", 33 and a third inch or quarter inch arms. I got to search for wingspan, man. There's a couple of sites that usually have it. I don't know why it's just not something that is always measured. And I do believe that's by purpose, that some players just will not allow it to be measured. I wonder why. What's Aiden's arm length? Do you remember?
I do not. You thought it was short, though.
It is short. I know it's short. Al Qudi Muhammad wingspan. Where is it? Let's see on this site. Does this site have it? Damn it. Nothing there either. You know, I wonder if Al Qudi Muhammad went to the combine.
I'm not sure.
Aiden's is 33 flat. Yeah, I don't if that's from NFL.com, it's rounded up. NFL.com always rounds up. Anyway, while I'm looking this up, is there anything else you want to touch on?
Yeah. I had a couple of things about the Lions here. So I have an interesting little factoid about the Detroit Lions this week. The Lions opened up the week as a 9.5-point favorite. Now it's a 10.5-point favorite against the Cincinnati Bengals on the road. This is the largest road favorite spread for the Detroit Lions that they've had since 2014. And between now and 2014, our other biggest spread was last year on the road against the Colts, and we were 7.5-point favorites, and we blew the Colts out of the water. So as far as this being a trap game, I don't believe this is a trap game for the Lions, but it's kind of nice to see as a Lions fan. We might actually have a game where it's what I call not a heart attack game. This is one where we should get the lead early on, keep the lead the whole game, and never be in question on who's going to win this game. And I hope that's the way this game goes, and I can just sit back, eat my steak, and have a good time in town watching the game. No having to have a heart attack worrying about whether we're going to win this game on a last-second field goal.
Ooh, I think I just found it. Okay. All right, so let me go back to this, and I'm going to touch back on the whole trap thing. I like I was telling you yesterday. Yeah, I don't think that the Lions themselves feel like there's a trap, because that would be the mental side, right? It's the trap game is the Lions not taking the Bengals seriously, right? I think that would be the trap. Dan won't let them do that. When you look at the surface, just like you did the other day, I think you posted it in one of the lives that I was doing, that we should crush them, and we should on paper,
yes,
right?
on paper.
We'll roll through that here in a minute. We should crush them on paper. However, with the cornerback situation, and if the Lions don't just totally get after Browning and we allow him to throw the football, I think I said it this morning, they might hang around in this game a little bit longer than we want them to offensively. Defensively, they will not. I think that the Lions are going to handle business on the offense. But something's telling me I'm just a little worried about our defense in this game. After what I saw against the Browns, the Lions not being aggressive, in my opinion, is what they should have been. And this is a similar situation where you would think that we would just go in and destroy them, like 46-0. We should, on paper. I'm a little hesitant, but I'll put out my final, as I always do over the weekend. All right, here we go. Let's do a quick comparison on Aiden. So Aiden's 6'6", 5'8" inches tall, 260 pounds. So he's lean, very lean. When you look at AQM compared to Aiden, I mean, AQM looks like, a Mack truck compared to Aiden. He's so built. He's just huge. And he's only 250, 260, somewhere in that range. Aiden is 6'6" and 5'8". So that is what, 78 and 5/8? 78 and 5/8 inches divided by a wingspan of 78 and 1/8. So that's 78.675 divided by 78 point, what is an eighth? Is that 1.1375? Hold on.
I'm not sure.
125, sorry. 125. 78.675 divided by 78.125. His APE score is 1 flat. No, I'm sorry. 5 divided by 8, yeah, it's 625. So 78.625 divided by 78.125, it's 1 flat. For whatever reason in the past, it was always 0.99. It was under 1. But either way, 1 flat is the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the barrel. Of all edge rushers ever to play the game, you've never seen an edge rusher that has a wingspan not longer than your height. In the NFL, the average wingspan is 2 inches longer than your height. On the edge, it should be 3 inches or more longer than your height, right? Those, and I went and did all the elites. You guys have seen my spreadsheets where I've tracked all of this stuff, so I know what I'm talking about, right? Now, AQM is 6'3", so that's 75 inches, divided by a wingspan of 78 and 7/8 inch. So his wingspan is bigger than Aiden's, and he's 4 inches shorter. So divide that by 78 and, 78. No, he's 6'3". 75 divided by 78, 875. What am I doing wrong? Al-Qadim Muhammad is 6'3", so that's 75 inches. Divided by 78.875 divided by 75. His APE index is 1.05, which is, he's in the upper echelon, but he's not elite. He's in the upper echelon of wingspan. Aiden, I did it backwards. Aiden is 78.125 divided by 78.625, 0.99. So he's underneath even the minimum threshold of having it be even. So there's a big difference, right? And AQM's arm length is 33 1/4, and Aiden is 32 1/8. 32 1/8. And this is from Mock Draftable. They track all of this stuff for every player ever in the NFL. It's one of the best sites that I've ever found. When I'm looking for things that no other site has, they have it. And then the other site that I use to kind of give you guys, some things to use, draftscout.com. Draftscout.com. They also track a lot of things. So they'll track things from college, where they do measurements in college. Now, could they grow after college? They could, right? Is it unlikely? Yes. The weight will change, but typically the height, the arm length, the hand length, the wingspan, that stuff is not going to change. The other things like vertical, weight, speed, broad jump, bench, reps, stuff like that will change. So there you go. That is why I believe that Al-Qadim Muhammad is able to be more efficient. And for any player that I've tracked in the elite range for defensive ends, the reason why they are more efficient is because they all have really long arms. Over 33 inches is the minimal, like to be an elite edge in this league, 33.5 inches or longer in the arm length, 1.05 or higher in the ape index, and you're well on your way just with that. If you don't have the rest of it, all the other intangibles, the mental side, the height, weight, speed stuff that Brad loves, no, he doesn't, then it's not going to work out. But they all blend together. But the most important thing is the old noggin, man. How smart are you? All right, one more thing we'll go through real quick here. Now, this is in the keys to the game, but I think I have everything set up a little bit early for us today. I just wanted to run through some of the weekly slides, and I want you to give me your breakdown of what you think we're looking at here.
Okay. And when we're done, I have one final question for you.
Go for it, man.
Show.
All right.
So now?
No, let's get through this. Let me get this.
Okay.
Let me get this back to slide number 1. I don't know why it's on slide 7.
They're sliding through.
There
I think because
we
you
go.
were showing me earlier, probably. Now they're gone.
All right. So overall records and rankings, team by team breakdown. Lions versus the Bengals. Lions league ranking is 5th. Bengals are 13th. I thought that was kind of nuts that they're right in the middle of the league right now. Overall NFC ranking, the Lions are 3rd. The Bengals are 6th. Overall win-loss record, Lions 3-1. Bengals hanging around at 2-2. Division ranking, the Lions are 1st, and the Bengals are 2nd. NFC North record, Lions are 1-1. AFC North record, the Bengals are 1-0. Nothing really for us to kind of conversate on here, but this is where things start to get different. The Lions offense, 6th in the NFL right now. To their offense, the Bengals 32nd, dead last in the league. Passing offense, Lions are 10th. Passing offense for the Bengals, they're 30th. Rushing, the Lions are 6th to their 32nd, last in the league. Lions scoring offense is 1st in the league right now, and the Bengals 30th. Lions are scoring at 34 points per game, whereas the Bengals barely putting up 2 touchdowns at 15 points per game. Eric, just looking at this right now, this is the paper tiger that we're talking about. The Lions should destroy them offensively. Right?
Yeah. Listen, in their last 2 games total, they've only scored 7 points. Or, I mean, 10 points. They scored 7 and then 3 last week they only scored 3 points against Denver. I know Denver has a good defense, but man, do they have that good of a defense? So that just means to me that Chase and Higgins are not making this giant difference when they don't have a run game to go with it, and their offensive line is just giving up sack after sack, and they're very porous. So on paper, man, this should be 73-3. Now, when we did our preseason predictions, and I predicted this game, I had a win for the Lions, but I had it as a score of 35-34, and I hope I am wrong about that score total. I think now, to look back on it, I'm probably looking more at like a 35-10 score. I'll give them 10 points on our defense. So 35-10 is what I'm kind of thinking.
All right, so let's move into the defense then, since you brought it up. Lions defense is 12th, and we'll do a week over week look at that I added to the slides because we're tracking how the Lions are doing from week to week. I think you'll be surprised. Bengals defense, total 30th, passing 30th, rushing 26th, scoring 27th, allowing 30 points per game. Lions 12th in total defense, 13th in the pass, 7th against the run, 15th in scoring. Right now they're allowing 22 points a game. And the biggest reason why is because of the first game of the season. And then, of course, the Ravens, we allowed them to score too many points. But the fact that they're at 22 points a game, we'll go back to week 2. Eric threw out the caution flag and said, you know what? Where are the Lions right now in points per game allowed? And I think they were right around 26 or 27 or something like that. We understand that it's going to take a little bit of time. You need the average. Every week, the Lions have been coming down. Right? Their points per game allowed is coming down. Right on pace to where I think that they'll be at the end of the season. Last season, we started off the first 12 weeks averaging 17 points per game that we were giving up. And then by the end of the season, we allowed the last 3 or 4 out of 5 or 6 games, an average of 25 points per game, which can't happen. This year, I see us going in reverse order, Eric, where we started high. This could get drilled down to 15, 16, 17 points per game by the end of the season. And if that happens, we should be unstoppable in the playoffs. So now
that's where we need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So now looking at, the Lions offense and defense compared to the Bengals offense and defense, 73-3 sounds great. 50-50 to 0 sounds better to me. But I'm a little concerned with some areas. Lions defense week over week. We should be better, right? We should be better, but we're not in some areas. Total defense, we gained 2 spots. Passing defense, we gained 3 spots. Rushing defense, we gained 4 spots. Scoring defense, we gained, 11 spots? And points per game allowed, we dropped 4 points. So, I'm sorry. Overall, we are better week over week. So the Lions headed into week 5. We've jumped plenty, of spots this last week after beating the Browns the way that we did. So I think that, again, what does Dan always say, Eric, about the trajectory? What does he always say?
Yeah, just it needs to be going in an upward trend.
Well, he always says we need to be playing our best football at the end of December, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the Lions are headed right now. All right, let's take a look at our offense versus their defense.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
There's your paper tiger right there.
Yep.
That's all you need to look at. You don't need to look at another slide, nothing right there. Our offense versus their defense is going to be a slobber knocker.
All right. So, offensive ranking, Lions are 6th in the league right now. And this is where I think that we fell back. I'm sorry, it wasn't the defense, it was the offense. And I didn't do an offense week by week. I'll add that for next week. These slides take me forever to put together, like over an hour, because I have to go in and find all the stats and then write them all in and yada, yada, yada. It's a lot of work. Anyway, 6th to 30th, 10th to 30th, 6th to 26th, 1st to 27th, and we're putting up 34 points per game. They're allowing 30 points per game. The 2 metrics that I really key in on are the 3rd down conversion rate and then the 4th down or the red zone scoring. And that's where it kind of gives me the idea of what the Lions are going to be able to do against this team offensively. I don't think we're going to have any problem offensively scoring points. It's just, are they going to be able to score points on our defense? That's the biggest question. Lions defense versus the Bengals offense. Again, it's a mirror image of our offense versus their defense. We're just way better on paper. And I don't think that we're going to have any problems. Overall defense, overall defense is 12. They're ranked 32nd in the league overall offense. Our passing defense is 13th. But here's the kicker, Eric. Let's not sugarcoat this. We just lost Terry and Arnold and DJ Reed. Our passing defense is probably going to go back to 26th in the league this weekend.
Yep.
I hope not. So that's where I think that their passing is they're going to be able to do something against us. The rushing defense, though, if they put up more than 40 yards, that's my call. They're not putting up 40 yards of rushing in this game. And if they do, then we must have played deep zone and had no linebackers in the game. You know what I mean? Like we probably were in dime every play. Scoring defense, 15th to their 30th. We're allowing 22. They're only scoring 15. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to minus 15 from 22. What does that give us? It gives us 7 points. Realistically, I think that the Bengals should score 7 points. But what's going to happen, I think, is a little bit more. We'll see what Vegas. What's the overall on Vegas right now? Why don't you look that up so we can
10.5 right now.
Okay. So I would say that the Bengals might score 17. Lions offense, we're putting up 365, a little bit of a drop back from last week. Passing yards, 226, again, fell back a little bit. Passing yards per game, 7.6. We were at 9. Rushing yards per game, 139. We were at 146. Rushing yards per carry, we were at 5. We're back to 4.7. On the other side, the Bengals are putting up 205. They're passing 155 per game, 5.8 yards per attempt. I mean, my goodness, that's exactly what the Browns. See, the Browns were about 5 per attempt, and that's why, Eric, I'm a little bit more nervous because this isn't Joe Flacco. It's Browning, who can move a little bit better than what Flacco can. I don't think he has the intelligence or the style of arm that Flacco does, but the Browns were able to put some yards up on us. They were able to gash us a little bit at times, but they had so many drops, it was unbelievable. Rushing yards per game, they're only putting up 50. There's just no way that they're going to put up 50 in this game. Averaging 2.6 yards per carry. It's pathetic.
Yeah, it's awful.
Criticals, this is where it gets critical. We need some music to this. I'll add music in when I do my keys to the game. Red zone offense ranked. The Lions rank 4th in the league right now. That's an amazing place to be. Red zone TD scoring rate. This is how many times we're in the red zone. Are we scoring a touchdown? 74% of the time. So that means 7.4 out of 10 trips to the red zone, we're pulling out a TD. We're averaging 3.5 touchdowns per game in the red zone. Our third down conversion rate. Right now, we are ranked 11th in the league, and we are converting 42% of third downs. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Well, why is it not more? Well, how many times do we get to third down is the question, right? Right now, the Lions are not getting into many third downs because they're pushing first down from second down. We're first down from first down. But when we do get into a fourth down situation, we're converting 79% of the time. Bengals defense, they're allowing 50% conversion rate on fourth down. They're allowing a third down conversion rate of 49%. They're also allowing a conversion rank of the 30th worst in the league on third down. They're giving up 3 touchdowns in the red zone. So I'm going to take both of those numbers and add them together, and that gives me 6.5 TDs. That tells me I think the Lions are going to put up at least 34 points in this game. Red zone TDs allowed 67%, and their 24th ranked defense in the red zone is barely palpable. Like they barely got a pulse. Lions defense, again, criticals against the Bengals. What is our Lions defense doing, Eric? Go ahead and read it, man. Read it off. What are we doing?
So the Lions defense, red zone defense is 19th. The red zone touchdowns allowed rate is 62%. Red zone touchdowns allowed 2. And then third down conversion rank 11th. Third down conversion rate 42%, and fourth down conversion rate 40%. And it looks like the Bengals offense, they're 100% on fourth down conversions. So we better not get to fourth down with the Bengals offense because they're 100% on the season. I bet you they've only done 1 all year.
Yeah, well, there you go. I don't have that stat in there, but they've only had 1.
Yeah.
So it's a little misleading when you look at stats sometimes, and that's why the eye test is so important. That is why watching film is so important. The stats will give you a very, very, very good idea of where these teams are. But let's just be real for a moment. Okay, this is a portion of stats. Portion. And when I mean portion, we're talking very small portion here. The amount of stats that I have and that I go through every week is insanity. You guys would think that I'm nuts. I'll show you my pregame sheet, and you'll probably you'll think I'm nuts, but that's all right. All right, this is where we really get into it, man. Jared Goff versus Browning. Honestly, look,
God.
Okay, but hold on here. Browning's only been in 2 games. Okay, Jared's been in 4.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So there you go.
Okay, so if you look at the stats head on, this right now, it's saying that Browning would be ahead of Jared Goff had he played 4 games because he would have 1,012 yards versus Jared's 929. The difference is we have an amazing run game, right?
Passing touchdowns.
Yeah, and Jared Goff putting up 9 TDs to his 3. So in another 2 games, he would have had maybe 6.
Yeah.
Jared's only thrown 2 interceptions. Well, Browning has already thrown 5, so he probably would have thrown 10 by now. Passer rating, a 68 to 113. I mean, that's not even close. And I know that the season completion rate looks a little bit closer than what it should be. 64% is terrible. The fact that Jared Goff went from 80 to 74%, it's not concerning to me. He didn't complete 10 passes against the Ravens. Against the Browns. And partially because there was multiple drops and him and J-Mo just did not connect at all.
Yeah.
So
he had to throw it away a few times also.
Yeah, there was 5 or 6 plays in there, or maybe 4 or 5 plays in there, with J-Mo that just didn't connect. And that's why his numbers dropped a little bit. Not concerned. It was just one game. All right, the last slide. Goff Browning again in explosives. Jared Goff has put up 30-plus pass attempts over 10 yards, 11 over 20, 5 over 30, 2 over 40, and 1 over 50, 580 air yards on the season. If I hear one more person say that Jared Goff is not accurate downfield, I'm probably going to lose it because he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. More than half of his passing yards are explosive. Remember, he has 929 on the season. So 580 divided by 929 is 62.4% of all of Jared Goff's passing yards are more than 10 yards down the field. So to say that he's not accurate, you must have fallen asleep in the tub that Peyton Manning put on the field with it was full of whiskey.
Whiskey bath.
Yeah. That's the only way I could explain it.
Looking at these slides, I got a question for you. Do you think that the Lions offense will score on every single offensive possession during this game? I wish there was a bet that I could make online.
I think
for
you
the
can.
Lions to score on every offensive possession.
I think that there's
I think
something
they're
close.
going to. I think this game, this is the game. I think that's what's going to happen. I think the Lions offense may score on every single offensive possession.
I think it's possible. I definitely think it's possible. And I think that if we don't,
unless there's like a kneel down or something at the end of a half, or they're purposely not trying to score.
I definitely would say it's possible. The only thing that we would have to defeat ourselves, I think.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Kind of what you're saying.
Yes.
Like, yeah, if we kneel down, obviously there's not an opportunity there.
Yeah. You're just trying to run the clock out or something.
Right.
So I have one final question on the day for you and everyone in the chat. If I say a certain name, you tell me if you recognize this name or not. All right. You ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
Carl Sheffers. Why should you remember that name?
Carl Sheffers. Why is that so familiar?
Sounds really familiar, doesn't it? Well, Carl Sheffers, he runs a crew of referees in the NFL. And Sheffers was the lead referee during the Detroit's controversial loss to the Green Bay Packers in 2015 when Aaron Rodgers completed a Hail Mary at the end of the game after Sheffers' crew awarded the Packers an untimed down following a face mask penalty that replay showed never actually happened. Well, get ready for this, Lions fans. Sheffers' crew will officiate the Lions' Week 5 contest against the Cincinnati Bengals. And if that's not bad enough, Sheffers' officiating crew has been extremely flag happy this year. In 3 games, they are averaging 18.6 penalties per game, which is by far the most of any officiating crew this year. This is far more than the annual average, and the annual average is only 10.3 for last year.
Well, Tarian won't be in the game, so probably won't have any. I'm just kidding, TA. Probably won't have any pass interference penalties.
But yeah, I just wanted to warn Lions fans, we're going to have one crappy referee crew this weekend. So it might be a flag fest. If they're giving out pretty much 19 flags a game, hopefully they're all against the Bengals and not against us.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
I don't want a ticky-tacky game. Let them play.
Let me show you guys this one last thing. So I've been working hard on my sheets this year. It's something new for us to do to be able to have all of this stuff at our hands. So This is just one tab, okay? And so this is just one tab. Let me close it. Right? Let me close it. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. Now it's open. This is just one tab of stats. Every single blue is a clickable stat. Every single one. This is everything that I look at before every game. And this is how I build all of my slides. That's just one. This just one, right? Some of these are not completed yet, but here's offensive stats for the opponent, and it gets deeper. Here's defensive stats, and that's not even close to being done. If you go back up,
you're gonna have to read your own book every week.
What do you mean?
just to get ready for the next opponent, you got to read your own book on everything you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the only way you can have an intelligent, I think, conversation is if you know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't know what the hell we're talking about, why would we do this? You know, it's not like we're going to get everything right. That's just not possible. But
yeah,
I think that you have to start from somewhere, and you have to start at the beginning. You know, on as soon as stats get released, you know, on Monday from PFF, you know, I start to break things down. There's 12 subscriptions that I have that I have to use all of them just to compile a lot of these different stats, like finding things like, what's the one that I really have trouble finding? Like explosives, like finding that. You would think that PFF would have that. I've never really noticed it in there, and maybe I'm just missing it. Next gen stats, I swear they've gotten rid of stuff, and I know that they say they've added things. NFL Pro is not even close to what it was last year. I feel like they're missing a bunch of stuff. But then finding things like this new one, Summer Sports, that you know tracks golf and man versus zone, and I mean, there's just a lot of good stuff that I look at, and sometimes you get paralyzed by so much information, and you have to be careful. And that's why now that I've got these sheets fairly dialed in, it helps us to stay educated. Helps us to find things easier. But anyway, that's it. Final 30 of the day, man.
All right, my final 30 of the day. Our little poll we put up today. What is the Lions' biggest need? Well, at 16% was edge. Kind of surprising. Linebacker, 2%. And offensive line, 11%. But then the winner by a wide margin with 72% was corner. Yep. And then I'm gonna give you this question. This is a non-Lions question. Let's say that the Cincinnati Bengals end up with the number 1 overall pick next year in the draft. Do they go quarterback?
Ooh. I would hope not. I don't think so.
With Joe Burrow getting hurt all the time?
I mean, why wouldn't you just get a freaking offensive line?
It's the Bengals.
Just get well, I think that they started to realize that. That's why they didn't want to pay. They didn't want to pay Hendrickson is they've got bigger needs. So they need an offensive line, man. Like Joe Burrow has been getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
And my biggest concern now is like turf toe really never goes away. He's screwed. And the fact that it was like the worst grade injury possible for a turf toe, like it exploded. Everything inside that toe exploded.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know a lot about turf toe, but when I started reading about that, I'm like, it's just so gruesome what happened to his foot, to his toe, you know, and trying to plant and all that good stuff. But my final 30 of the day, man, is just go Lions, dude. We just got to take care of business. Like, that's it. You can't take your eyes off the prize. You cannot take your eyes off the Bengals. You've got to go in with you know, expectations low, go do your damn job, and just fight for the guy next to you, man. That's it. Just go in and get the win. Do I care about blowing these guys out? No. I just want the win. Because if you end up with a loss here in a game that you should win, that could spell disaster. It really, especially when you start thinking of the teams that we have next. So they just head down, get after it, and And again, like I'm going to say every day, man, to everybody battling breast cancer, put your head down and keep fighting every day, just like your Detroit Lions. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Go Pride, go Detroit Lions. You guys take care.
It's game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning.